November the 4th, 2022. Guys, in the Bible, it talks about wars and rumors of wars. Matthew. And guys, I think that's what we're seeing now, but Christ said that's the beginning of the sorrows. What we're seeing right now, in my opinion, just my opinion now, this article is titled Thriller in Korea. But North and South Korea ready for war with hundreds of fighters in the air. 260 aircraft have taken off. 240 more are on standby. Now, the U.S. and South Korea are doing war game drills, just like the U.S. and NATO are doing these war game drills in Europe. Like I said, Satan is raging about because he knows he has but a short time. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Why is the West involved in all these conflicts, especially now, a few days before the election? Something's going down. Now, we'll take a look at this article, but if you've been paying attention, North and South Korea, they've been doing it for a long time, but in the last few days, launching missiles, kind of saber rattling each other as far as showing how much power they have, and shooting missiles over and landing in the sea and all. But there's one interesting thing about the North Korean missiles in the last few days. One was an intercontinental ballistic missile, and it said it was an unsuccessful test. And there are reports that that missile was shot down somewhere over Alaska, right at the point of the arc to where it goes from ascending to descending in its trajectory. And again, certain folks are saying that that missile would have come down in Washington, D.C., but it was taken out. It didn't misfire. It was shot down, according to sources. Now, again, we've got Russia, the situation there with the proxy war in Ukraine, and this. So I just want to take a look at this article for a moment, and then let's relate it a little bit to Matthew. And one of the things about this that caught my eyes says the situation on the Korean Peninsula between North and South Korea is escalating for the second day. South Korea's National Defense General Staff said its fighter jets were rushed to take off after radar detected 180 North Korean jets flying for 4 hours today north of the militarized border. You got the DMZ through there. It says a total of 180 North Korean jets, 80 South Korean fighter jets along with F-35As were in the air as 240 South Korean jets participated in the Vigilant Storm exercise with the U.S. and they were put on standby. Before the deployment of the fighters, North Korea had proceeded with an artillery barrage towards the security zone, while yesterday, Thursday, it also launched an intercontinental missile which signaled the alarm in northern and central Japan. In the past 48 hours, North Korea has fired about 29 to 30 missiles, most of which landed in the Sea of Japan. Everything's being provoked, and it's going very rapidly. At the same time, Seoul and Washington continue their joint air drills, the largest in their history, that goes on until tomorrow, Saturday, following the test, which was unsuccessful, according to South Korea. And that was of the ICBM I was telling you about. It says of an intercontinental ballistic missile by Pyongyang. About 240 South Korean fighter jets took part in the exercise with the U.S., which has angered North Korea. A month ago, 10 North Korean fighter jets flew, again, near the border, prompting an immediate response from South Korea. And that's what I'm saying. Usually just a small amount starts some trouble with. But you know, when you got the devil system prodding everything around you, things are going to have escalated, and they're going to continue to do so until someone breaks. Now, this article also will be in the same link below. It's on the same website. Biblical references from Medvedev, and this is Russian. We will send our enemies to the eternal fires of hell. We listen to the words of the Creator and obey. Russia's the largest country by far, guys. They've got so much land. If you take a good look at a map, compared to the rest of the planet. And they're saying that they are not seeking war, but that Satan is seeking war and to destroy them because they have not gone insane with the modern day wokeness. You understand what I mean? And they talk about that. The article says the former president and current vice president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, characterized the war in Ukraine as a holy conflict with Satan, warning that Moscow can send all its enemies to the eternal fires of hell. This is not the first time that Medvedev makes biblical references. On Russia's Day of National Unity, the vice president said, "Why is our cause just?" According to Medvedev, the big question is made up of many small ones. What the former president noted in detail, also referring to the battle between Russia and the forces of Satan. Why are we fighting? Russia is a huge and rich country that has its own lands and the lands where our ancestors lived. These lands are sacred to us, and we will not give them up to anyone. Thus we fight for all our people, for our land, and for our millennial history. Who is fighting us? We fight against those who hate us, who ban our language, our values, and even our faith, who instill hatred for the history of our motherland. Guys, there's probably as many Christians in Russia as several other countries added together. It says, the dying world, a bunch of crazy Nazi drug addicts are fighting us. The people are drugged and a big pack of dogs barking from the western kennels. Pretty much says it. And guys, I know that most of you understand exactly what he said. And before we heard him say this today, we knew that that is exactly what's happening. That Satan is warring against everyone. He wants to bring the world to destruction and bring about his answer to chaos. But it will be short-lived. We know that, but it will happen, guys. So keep an eye on this. The links will be below in it. It's important. Again, the devil is multi-pronged right now. Asia, Europe, Russia, here. Think about it. Look at South America. Look at Mexico. Look at the state of chaos where the petrodollar has infiltrated over the last several decades. Look at the chaos. And now it's here. And let's take a look at Matthew 24 from the New Testament. And it kind of sums it up pretty well. And it's Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. Now, this wasn't a large group. This was just very private. They went down the hill and sat on the side of the mountain, of the Mount of Olives, looking over at the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See you not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. Very important. No politician, no man. And remember, it says in the Bible, is this the man that has deceived the world? For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Now, what is he talking about? When will we see the return of Christ? Now, I know a lot of folks, many would prefer the easiest way out of this that there is, but you've got to be able to rightly divide the Word of God between the tribulation of man and the wrath of God. It's two different sections of the book of Revelation. And if you're still alive, you haven't died from some you-know-what, then you will see these things coming, and then you will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds. Now, we're going to get there in this chapter. I'm not trying to throw anyone away from any beliefs that they have, but it's as plain as day if you read it for yourself. And it's not an easy way out. We are all here for a test. What is a test? To become more righteous, to become more like our Creator. In other words, all the laws, Christ said, can be summed up in treat everyone the way you want to be treated. Take care of your friends. Forgive those that trespass against you. Empty your heart like that. But treat everyone the way you want to be treated. Think of it that way, and there will be no wars. But everyone is not there yet. It may be something other than that God is trying to open your eyes to. It may be just something in our personalities. Who knows? We're not doing certain things the way we should be, and the time is being given and His patience for us to work that out. That's why I said in the chapter about the tares, when the angels saw that the devil had planted these seeds in the good garden, they said, God, do you want us to come and rip up those tares and get them out right now? We'll stop this. God said, no, if you do, you'll kill everything. You'll tear up the wheat also. In other words, that destruction that you're talking about bringing down to take out the Satan seed, it will destroy everyone. And that's going to happen, guys. That is coming. But you don't want to wish for that day, because they're saying it all the way through the Old Testament also. That is not a day that's going to be very nice at all. And again, we'll read through this. You can see the same message in Luke 21 and Mark 13. Almost identical messages. And he says, for nation shall rise against nation again, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines. We're seeing that. Pestilences, earthquakes in many places. All these are the beginnings of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted. After the wars and rumors of wars, the famines, they will deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Now notice we haven't gotten to when He returns yet, because it hasn't happened in this part. But we're talking about the famines and pestilences and wars, then you'll be delivered up. Why? Will there be a false Savior stepping in to end a war, to save everybody? And you shall be afflicted, and they shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Just like the two witnesses. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Do you see how Satan is working this? Do you see through the indoctrination of the last few generations how the older generation and younger generations will conflict? If you talk about things now that you see with some of your kids that really haven't been paying attention, they don't want to hear it. That is not in their comfort zone. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. In the Greek, it says it slightly different. It says you will be kept safe. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. That's kind of important there, because Christ taught on different levels. You're down to the earth physical level, your spiritual level, and maybe a level or two above that. But anyway, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Now, it's interesting. We're talking about the temple being the body. Remember in the video about the RMNA and the DNA changes, and that it's erasing the name of God in our DNA and putting another name? And is that standing up in a temple? I think it is. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. In other words, a couple of meanings there. Let him which is on the housetop not come down and take anything out of his house. It's going to happen that fast. And woe with them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Now, why would that be thrown in there? What was one of the things that was said about this end times? It will be as the days of Noah. What was happening? The fallen angels were taking the women of the planet, and giants were being born, and offspring and abominations were being born. Woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. What's the spiritual meaning? That if you have been in bed with Satan, and you have been impregnated with his spiritual doctrine, it's not going to be good for you. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Now, after the wars and rumors of wars, here we go. The greatest tribulation of all time, not the wrath of God. Wisely, for your own sake, and the sake of your family, and anyone that you teach and talk to, understand the differences, because we have to go through some trials. It's going to be like purging the silver of all impurities. That's what's going to happen, this fire, this tribulation. And that is how you will be washed white. And that is how you're going to make it into heaven. You're going to be tried. Can you make it? And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Now, the elect, guys, I think are here for this last generation, the generation of the fig tree. We've talked about it before, that great battle in heaven. The folks that did not side with Satan. I think we're seeing a lot of that now in this generation. And God put them here for this generation, many of us, because he knew we would not bow, that we would be bent and broken, or we would be bent by this planet, by this physical realm, but we would not be broken. We would stand and fight. The elect, he said also, you shall be the pillars in my temple. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. Why? Because Christ tells you he's coming in the clouds with great witnesses. Now in the clouds, and it's going to get very dark, think of the chariots of fire. Just keep it real. For there shall arise false Christs, false prophets, and they shall show great signs and wonders, guys, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. It's not going to happen. We already know the tricks. We already have been warned time and time again how this is going to go down. If you decide to go against these letters in red and jump on this first Antichrist bus out of town, you're going to be lost, my friend, simply because you would not choose to listen. You just wanted the easy way. And the easy way is Satan's way in this physical realm. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning coming out of the east, that's where he's coming from, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will be the eagles gathered together. It's going to be a great change out of this broken shell at that time when he sets his foot down here. If you go back up, it says the entire gospel will be taught all to the four corners. I want you to relate that to something else in Revelation, to where God sends his angels to the four corners of the earth to seal God's seal in their foreheads. In other words, to teach the true gospel. If once you understand that, you are sealed. But imagine having that direct connection. I'm sure every one of us will learn something on that day. But that going forth, a lot of people, I'm not against missionary work at all, but a lot of people think that that is how the gospel in this particular time will be spread. But it's going to take something like that powerful, those four angels coming to the four corners and marking in your forehead the truth. Think of that. That's the love of God. Let's finish this up. Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened. After the tribulation of those days. Guys, please don't blank that out. These are letters in red. And the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Why? Because that great darkness, that great army, will be blotting out the sun and the moon. And then, when immediately after the tribulation of those days, then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power, his army in great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. What else is he going to do? Seal the knowledge of God in your forehead at that point. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is nigh. So likewise, when you see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Guys, we're seeing everything he's talking about now, except his return. But we're going to see more. Remember, the wars and rumors of wars are just the beginning. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm trying to make it, trying to emphasize how important it is that you understand this. Don't look for the easy way out. Look at the way Christ said do it. And if you don't, then you cannot even call yourself a Christian if you don't believe in what Christ said. He said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Why? He's the Alpha and the Omega, the living Word. Man, we are so fortunate. But of the day and the hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Then it was too late. When Christ said again, it will be just like that. Now, I think, and it always reminds me, and I can tell by the comments that we have many pet lovers here, whether it's huskies, dogs, cats, whatever it is, monkeys, pigs, doesn't matter. There's something, I think a spirit is changing over the planet about the care of these animals. Just as in the days of Noah, what was Noah doing while they were marrying and everything? He was paying attention to what God was saying, and he was obeying it. He was obeying it. But what was the other thing? He was getting all of God's creatures on board. Why? So that after this happened, they could repopulate the animal kingdom that he had built that is so beautiful and wonderful. But now there wasn't a sign on the door to that ark when these animals started marching up that door. And you know what wasn't there? It says your pets must be spayed and neutered. That's the same thing you hear at the vet every time you go. I have 5. Our female shepherd was 2 when we adopted her, and she had already been spayed and neutered. But the 4 males that we have, the huskies have not, and neither is our new puppy, the white Labrador, Boo Boo. I'm not going to put them through it. I wouldn't put my kids through it. We are near the end times. I don't know how this is going to all come to be, but I hope my pets are here with me, and of course our families. But start looking at these animals just as God told Noah to do, in the last days. And because Noah did that, and people say, man, how are you going to afford the dog food? God will provide a way when you take care of his creatures. Not only will he take care of them, he will take care of you for having the kindness in your heart. And that kindness in your heart is a sign of God, a sign of Christ. But know this, that if the goodman of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not the Son of Man cometh. Who then is faithful and a wise servant, whom his Lord made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Guys, think about it. This is not the time to take a vacation someplace else. This is the time to circle the wagons. Watch for the thief coming. This is physical and spiritual. So that when Satan approaches, he does not rifle through your house. Why? Because you're standing there in faith, protecting it. But guys, I wanted to go through this. It's important. Again, you can read the same message if you want to mark it down. Mark 13, Luke 21, Matthew 24. Christ emphasized things a lot 3 times. Pay attention. Please don't be insulted if you don't agree with when Christ is coming back. You'll just have to print this out and write what you want to. Mark out what you think Jesus is saying wrong, and then write what you think is right in there. But I think I did read in Revelation that anybody that changes something in this book is going to catch hell. And so to the scribes that have made changes in these books over the years, remember that when your butt's on fire. Guys, we're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.